episode. I don't know whose fault
We're
that
live
was.
now. Here we go.
That was the end of Mark's technologically.
That's right. I was replaced after that. You know what they say? Never do something well that you don't want to do again.
That's true.
So I may have strategically screwed up that audio because we have
That
now.
was Zoom, right?
It was.
Yeah.
COVID. Welcome to the Real Estate Addicts podcast. You're here with your hosts, Mark Savatsky, Choose Boston.
Ray Herto, RH Investment Group.
Dan Rubin, RH Investment Group.
And joining us today is our guest.
Crystal Chiaragatti with Choose Boston Brokerage. I want to hear you guys say my last name.
Yeah, that's nice. Mark's really good at trying to sound out people's last names.
Siri thinks your name is Chiaragatti.
Wrong.
No, okay.
I like should have heard him with De Jaeger or whatever his name was there. Yeah, that wasn't good either.
Yeah, it's like Spanish for the hunter, so I just went with that.
Yeah, which I still think I butchered that
hey,
too.
Rent control, topic that we've got a lot of feedback and response on. Just want to offer two things. One, I had a post recently that went like a lot of impressions, and I think the point that I made was there was an economic study about daycare and people picking up their kids late from daycare. And the daycare facilities imposed a penalty, financial one. And what happened was twice as many people picked their kids up late from school because it was no longer like a societal contract or like a moral. It was stipulated in plain English, and you just made a price for it. And I think rent control is going to do the same if it passes. So if you give me the max price I can charge per year, now it's a menu. And now I feel like I need to. It's no longer like my tenants take good care of my property. I take good care of them. It's like I got to keep up. And that's the second point I want to make is that your imputed value of your asset is based on what your rents are, right? Your cap rates. And it's not, if rent control passes, it's not like you can just sell it and the person buying it can go like, oh, he's renting it for way too little. Like I can up that by $1,000 in a couple of years or whatever it is. You are now locked at that price. So as the owner of that asset, you almost have an obligation, unless it's just going to be for your great grandkids to own one day, to keep moving at that 5% clip or whatever it wants to be. Because
you have to, or else you'll fall so far behind so quickly it won't even be funny.
Right, they'll have to. Even if you wanted to be a nice, magnanimous landlord,
you just can't. You can't.
You will have to keep,
especially if costs continue to go up as quickly as they're going up.
Did that make sense, Crystal?
Insurance, all that.
For sure.
If your expenses are outpacing your rent increase, what's even the point?
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to just throw a little barb in that conversation real quick, just because there was an update, and I don't know if this was your impromptu way of kind of getting me going here, but there was an not impromptu, but there have been discussions on both sides where they're trying to get some legislation passed. And just to add a little context that they're trying to relax the CPI caps. They're trying to allow it to happen.
No deal.
And they're also allowing on vacancy, they're decoupling, I believe, the control there.
Yes.
So you could reset on vacancies.
So if you have a vacant unit, you can go back.
But they're adding no fault evictions can't happen. You have to have some kind of lease violation. And I don't know how that would work for a month-to-month tenant or a fixed-term tenant. If it's a no fault eviction and you just decide to increase the rents the max amount, or you really can't do anything about that.
Look, I'm not like a big gun control person, but people who are really big on the 14th Amendment. It's not the second, right? Second Amendment.
Second Amendment. Oh boy.
You should ask the resident.
Can we edit that? Yeah. Oh yeah.
From Texas?
Crystal's from Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you own a gun?
What?
Are we putting this on the record? All right, where are we going?
No, I do. I have my license to carry, but I actually don't own a gun.
Oh wow.
Since moving here.
Concealed carry?
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's because Massachusetts is so safe.
I know. No, respect. I was going with that is gun control people who are like really fervent believers. They believe like that we can't give 1 inch because once you give, it will just keep going and you'll end up in a place where like you didn't want to be. And I actually think, though that's not true of the 14th Amendment, in my opinion.
Second.
Fuck.
It's okay.
It is true of rent control. And I think that the reason is that you will introduce it with these generous terms, but quickly you will find that equity and lending institutions are scared of Massachusetts. They're going to go to states like Florida and they're going to deploy money there. And our supply of housing will continue to be as anemic and as tight as ever. And then they're going to just ratchet down till we get back to where we started this conversation with the 3% or 5%, and then worse. So I'd rather just, if we are to have to go down this path, just give me my medicine and let it be a quick death. And then hopefully we can rebound this cycle. But don't compromise on this.
So you want strict rate control just to do it? And
no,
show
I
people
want no
it's
rate
terrible
control at all. I don't want to go down this.
We're going to keep going in this.
I don't want to be one of the very few states in this country that has rent control because I don't care what the terms are in the fine print. People aren't going to read it. They're just going to say like, oh, Massachusetts is like, oh, geez, you're one of those rent control states. I'm going to invest there.
It's
Thanks.
already an insanely tenant-favored state.
Right. That's the thing.
Despite what some of the talking heads will try and put out there, like there's no protections. Trust me, there's protections. We have people we want to get out that have good causes to get out, and they can't get out. And not to go on a diatribe there, but I agree with you. Rent control is just going to muddy the water more and make Massachusetts just a less desirable place for individuals who want to stimulate the economy. And whether you love us or hate us, you got to build housing, so you got to have us. And if you try to exclude us, you're going to be just like Seattle, where they tried excluding all the business owners. Now their downtown's dead. So if you want a dead Massachusetts, go for it.
You heard it here. Real Estate Addicts Podcast.
Yeah.
Crystal, before we were starting,
before we went to
before we get on,
another update.
mention that as long as she's been in real estate sales, she's never known anything but tough times, right?
When did you start?
So this will be my 4th year officially. You know, I was kind of unofficially because my husband is a developer. So I was always like helping with source deals and designing and things like that. And then I had another business and it was just kind of time to move on from that and decided to formally get into real estate.
So 2022 is kind of like, you kind of fell into it and then rates just exploded.
Pretty much, yeah. So I had my kicked off real estate with selling one of my husband Francesco's projects, and it was 6 units. I actually sold all of those out pre-CO.
Nice.
And hindsight looking back, I'm like, that's crazy that was pretty much my first transaction. I don't know if anybody really like knew that or not, but
so in your head, you're like, oh, they're all going to go like this.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, this is easy. What do you mean this is hard?
Yeah.
Exactly. But however, towards the end, I think it was like the last 2 units was whenever we had the conversations about rates. And then it was like, okay, now we need to educate buyers on rate buy downs. That's whenever everybody was like, that was like the buzzword. And so, that it was just a constant, I hate to use the word pivot, but like it just was constantly trying to come up with new strategies for something that was also brand new to me too. So,
and it's kind of relevant. It's kind of relevant right now. And I just want to ask the question while we're on it. You mentioned rate buy downs because obviously rates have gone up probably 100, 150 bips since the start of the Iran war. But rate buy down. So the seller is paying for that, or you're basically telling the seller like, hey, to get somebody to entice a sale, pay for their buy down, which is what? Like, how much does that usually cost?
It's negotiable.
Yeah. The ones that we, I would say whenever something was in the price range of like the 700,000 kind of point, I want to say average between like $10,000 and $12,000.
Okay.
So, it allowed us to keep our purchase prices high and then have sort of the concessions on the back end.
Blanket concessions are tough because like perhaps your buyer is bringing all cash and it's their parents' money, whatever it wants to be, but that's not their pain point. So like, don't necessarily need to chum the waters if that's not what you're solving. Maybe they just want a purple kitchen, and we could talk about buyer changes.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
But I'll give you Crystal a real compliment. Crystal came into real estate 4 years ago, having run 2 other very successful businesses, and I think you really do have that like entrepreneurial spirit. And it's sort of like cool how you bring creativity and the marketing mindset and like a business owner's focus to real estate sales. It's like it's just as recently as like 2 weeks ago, Crystal built out a new website for our buyers for a building in East Boston. And the idea as sort of communicated to me was like, you're at the table, you're waiting for your food. The people waiting for the pizza to come out want to know how much longer, like the Domino's pizza tracker. So we built a website that kind of offers that. It has all the major milestones for the construction project. It has photo updates at each milestone. It gives a little brief narrative of what's happening behind the scenes. Like, the chef's happy to come out and meet with the people at the table and their customers. Trust me, but like, we don't want you in the kitchen for the next 8 months. Like, I gotta make dinner for everyone. So I think that this website does that well.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it'll be interesting to just we haven't circulated it quite yet because I just want to make sure that we feel really good about it and about what we're sharing and, and how do we keep people excited. And that really is, I think, like the most important part right now. We've got to keep everyone engaged. We are, past P&S with everybody. So that's great. But, if you can breathe a little bit easier whenever you're at that point, but then still, it's a kind of a blessing and a curse of selling so early because we've got to keep everybody
there's
excited.
Been a few buyer changes. And I use that website also to like track as the builder, like what we've committed to for which unit.
That's good.
Because that can get confusing quick. So
like
that's also like part of our software now. Yeah. Has it been paid for? What was the fee? What do I have to,
This is 7 months out?
Oh no, this one right now we're gonna finish like early fall. The pizza tracker should be done.
It's impressive.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, we're doing great. I mean, it's an incredible building.
So when you sold your husband's the first 6 units, like how did you sell those all pre-CO? Like what is there about, because obviously pre-construction is a very different animal, right?
Yeah.
You're walking someone through a building that has no even like, I guess there's a lot of questions, right? It's like, at what point do you start bringing them through? Do you wait until, because there's a lot of different rules of thumb that we've talked to every broker or agent will tell you something else, right? It's like, we shouldn't start walking through until you're board and plastered or drywalled,
right.
Because people can't see the vision beyond the studs.
Yeah.
Like there's like, at what, like in your opinion, like what are the milestones where you want to start bringing someone through? When do you want to start marketing a property? Like what are those types of decisions that need to be made?
Oh, for sure. So, I mean, definitely comes from, and as Mark said, just kind of, I have a informal marketing background. I've pretty much have always been in sales. And so I could sell anything in my opinion. But
sell this magazine. No, I'm just kidding.
No, not live.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yes. But anyways, so I always really start with just like really understanding the project. And sometimes I have to catch myself because I'll get a little too wrapped up in like maybe the aesthetics of a brand. And I'm like, Crystal, stop. Like nobody really cares about the color of this. But I'm like, okay, hey, this property's by the water. Let's incorporate a little bit of blue and like earth tones, etc. The interior is kind of matching on some branding. So it starts with branding the project and sort of treating it as a mini business. And that's kind of been my process from every project from the very beginning. I'm building out the marketing collateral. I'm doing the renderings. I'm, doing all of those, getting the website together. And then at the part of showing, it's definitely, I have had success, most of my success actually, from whenever it's just framed. Like pre-installation, pre-walls closed, because I feel like it kind of shows better because you've got a lot more light coming in the building. That could be a piece of it. But it's just the people that get it. And those are the people that are also the ones that are going to be willing to like hang out longer, and wait for the product that they want. And so, then I would say now at this project specifically that Mark and I are working on in East Boston, we're about to start installation. And so, there is going to be a couple of weeks here where like, we can't really do showings. We can't,
chaos. I would agree. I would just like to add like, typically 90 days is a rule of thumb for a modest sized project, from plaster to C of O. Like things go well. You give me 3 months, I can get through tile, flooring, installation, kitchen cabinets, and deliver a project. And I think those are 3 of the hardest months to pre-sell construction.
It's messy.
Oh yeah, there's shit everywhere.
There are tons of people on the job. It's going to be beautiful, but at the moment, like it's really tough to see because only half that wall is tiled and the floor isn't there yet. And so like that tile into itself isn't that pretty, but the whole bathroom is going to be beautiful. Like try explaining that. That's tough. And then the other thing is like, the pizza's coming out of the oven soon. Like there is a big like, honey, it is really nice, but there's 7 units left and we're almost there. Let's just wait to see how it tastes. We can before we purchase, we can just get there and buy it or not. So it's I think there's that magic moment of foundations through the end of framing where, and maybe a buyer wants to pick their own countertop or make a couple small changes.
You should have to ask the GC really nicely.
Yeah.
So then to that point, there's probably a list of people who are interested, not really ready to sign on the dotted line yet. But
so that's
when you get to that point, you announce it with a bunch of fanfare like, hey, if you've been waiting, now is the time to come check it out because here we are.
I was literally just thinking about that today of like, we've had like a few people come in that have had that similar sentiment of like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to see what happens. And then they also had the mindset of like, well, if it doesn't happen, it wasn't meant to be. If somebody bought that unit, it wasn't meant to be. And so, but otherwise there's, other people that are still kind of hanging out. They're watching maybe progress on social media, things like that. I also do a lot of like progress videos and I don't know who that's for, but if it works, if I realize now that it's like actually buyers that are following me and, are keeping track like that, that's cool.
Or other agents.
Yeah, other agents too. Exactly. Yeah. So then it'll now become kind of like a new round of follow-up, that we'll be doing on the sales side.
The very first thing we'll do on a project is just put a splash page up. Like if we don't have anything except the hero shot, the pretty picture of the building at dusk, great. I'm going to put up 246havre.com with a hero shot and one line that just says, enter your email to register your interest. And
yeah, why not?
Just
easiest thing you can do.
Now, as you start, now you've got a newsletter, you're releasing new updates, just sort of tantalizing and teasing.
I think you also, in order to sell pre-construction, or pre-CO, I don't know. Pre-construction is a weird word.
Yeah, it's pre-sell pre-construction.
What?
You're selling pre-construction.
We're kind of selling during construction.
Yeah, that is a good word. That's a good point.
But anyway, you also have to have a good development partner, right? Because if you're dealing with a developer that's like picking finishes out on the fly and like it can become an absolute nightmare, right? Like you want to work. I'm sure you've dealt with that. I'm sure you've dealt with that in the past, right? Because if you're not picking out all your finishes, if you don't know exactly what that product looks like, you can't create the pretty renderings and you can't create those pretty pictures of what things are going to look like. And it's like, and buyers want to know when they're walking through. It's like, what kind of countertops are you using? What kind of cabinets are you putting in? What kind of flooring are you going to be doing? And if you don't know the answers to any of that, then you're kind of fucked, right?
Oh, for sure. No, it definitely makes a huge difference. Like the best projects I've worked on are the ones that have that higher designer. Like, I can sit there and I can play designer because I see things in the market. I do have I would say like a good eye for design, but do I want to be like spending my time doing that? No, I really don't.
Have you been asked? I'm sure you have.
Yes. Yeah. I play designer all the time.
But there's so many design decisions. That's the other problem. It's like, look, I'm happy to pick like a vanity light. I can certainly look at the kitchen cabinets and countertops and put something together. But like the level of detail that you need to have command of during framing and early in the process to get a buyer to have the confidence to put down 5% of their purchase price, you really do need like a fully baked set of design documents, down to whether it's bullnose or Schluter strip and what color the Schluter strip is going to be. And, those renderings, as much as every GC says we don't build off renderings, the buyers certainly expect that you do. So if you show a cross handle in the primary bathroom sink faucet, you better buy a cross handle. That's a real one from my own experience.
I was gonna say, that's more on the owner to figure out, make sure that the renderings look good, right?
Well, I mean, it goes into P&S, right? Like, I mean, and even at written offers, they say we want to review XYZ before.
I mean, any real estate attorney is going to say, like, what do you? Hold on, slow down.
What are we promising?
Can we attach? What's the refrigerator? What's the flooring?
Where's the spec sheet?
Yeah. So, and you do lose a lot of flexibility there too. So, it's incumbent on a developer to like know what you're doing and like figure out the recipe.
Yeah, but there's a lot of guys that are just flying by the seat of their pants and they're just picking stuff out and making willy-nilly changes on the fly all of the time. It's just the nature of the business, unfortunately.
Well, and sometimes things become unavailable.
Yeah.
I think
the discontinuance of product sucks. Like you just pick everything out, especially if you have a designer, right? Yeah. We always say this: buy it as soon as you can because the second it goes out of stock, goodbye. It's gone.
We buy it and store it if we have to.
Yeah,
it sucks handling stuff multiple times. But listen, like if I'm guaranteed to get it versus buying it in 4 months and I might not have it, and then I have to find something else or choose something else. And then if we have buyers, then you have to let them know. And it's like, it becomes a nightmare.
Or you can buy it on Alibaba.
Yeah.
We should reach out to them, see if they'll do a sponsorship at this point. You mentioned them so much.
Mark single-handedly funding Alibaba.
Commercial break sponsored by.
Did I tell you I just bought an excavator on
You did.
No,
You did.
I did not know
this.
Yeah. You did.
When's it coming? A couple more weeks?
Is it in Connecticut yet?
Not yet. No.
Do they give you the Domino's pizza tracker for your excavator?
Actually, what I'm most nervous about is that the trailer that comes with the excavator can be registered in Massachusetts. So that'll be an interesting follow-up.
Wait, you can't register any trailer in Massachusetts?
No, the standards are like very high.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, naturally. I was going to talk about pricing strategy, and I think selling during construction is interesting way to feel out the market. You know, you do have the benefit that like unit goes on, you can take it off for 60 days. Assume that you've got more than a handful of units. Mm-hmm. You can kind of cycle. And I think we've been pretty successful at that. And,
well, the last 3 projects, and specifically, which will be a good segue to talk about a really great success story that we've had, but we have been using Zillow New Construction. And so, you know, it's definitely meant for more of like
communities.
Yeah, like a subdivision or some. It's not really meant, I don't think, like for
multifamily building.
Yeah, for like multifamilies. But either way, it has been a really fantastic way, and that's actually how between like agent outreach and like knowing my community of agents paired with the Zillow New Construction, it's definitely how this project in East Boston that we've been able to get those units under agreement.
Oh wow!
So
versus putting it on MLS.
Yeah, exactly. And so I mean, it shows the power of Zillow, whether
and that's
we love
because
it or
they
not.
don't play nice anymore, right? Like MLS and Zillow are kind of
exclusive. It's just like a pre-MLS.
Pre-MLS.
Hate each other.
It's like Compass coming soon type thing.
Exactly.
But
yeah. And so you do have to kind of go a little, if you're the buyer, like you have to go a little out of your way to like, you know, filter in those new construction projects. But, you know, that in my opinion has been very, very well worth it. It's $50 a month, and, you know, it's a chance to just get that exposure out there.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really great.
I mean, also locking units early helps you sell units later.
Yeah.
To be able to say like, 50% sold, you know,
right.
You have a
sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen pricing strategies, since you were kind of alluding to that, where sometimes they start low.
Yeah.
And then as units get scooped up, the pricing kind of goes up, like, hey, 3 left, 2 left, last one. Do you fall in that camp? Do you think it's just more price discovery in general?
No, I think that we always try to just kind of stay in line with like where the market sits. I think right now too, just where, you know, because, you know, we don't have people beating down doors to buy, you know, right now. Like
we're talking 7, 8 unit buildings, 9. If we were doing 60, I think there would definitely be a tapering.
Yeah.
And it would be marketed as like, this price is good till that time. But yeah. I think that there's something to be said for that. It's also an interesting discussion for like in years past when interest rates were 0, you know, were you leaving money on the table?
Yeah.
Maybe. Now?
If you can pay down at time of CO, if you can pay down 75% or more of your note.
Yeah.
What a win.
Yeah.
Huge. Then you can hold on to those units longer if you need to, because you're not, you know, blowing tens of thousands of dollars every month on a payment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to say, like, of all the people who've ever said that to me, like, oh, you're leaving money on the table. I would say 80% of them, like 20% are developers who have sat in that chair and really get the stresses and everything else. But I think 80% are people who have no clue. They've never had the personal guarantee and the stress of all the payments going out the door to know like, hey, relax. Like I get that there was 30 grand that I may have been able to charge more if I staged it and waited, but like I also could have lost my home. And you know, you've never been a developer. And so I discount your opinion a lot. Like
it's easy to talk the talk. It's much harder to walk the walk.
Yeah.
And a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. So there you go.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So I don't know. Yeah. Good buyer gets that too. That, you know, maybe there is a discount that they're getting for coming in.
And certainly it's a totally different buying experience. And, you know, some people really do not want to deal with an ultra, let's say if it were this way, like ultra competitive environment, which it definitely still is there for some types of properties. So I think that it makes a lot of sense for somebody that is just kind of, maybe even just passively looking too. Like it's kind of crossed their mind like, hey, you know what? I've kind of outgrown my place if the right thing comes along, et cetera. So that's been, I think almost half of the buyers actually for this recent project too.
What's the current sweet spot in terms of purchase price, do you think, right now? And like, where's the most buyers? Is it like the first time home buyers, or is it kind of the middle of the road?
Let me rephrase it. What about unit? Because it's all going to depend on what. I mean, if you said that, it said Bay Village, Beacon Hill, or East Boston.
True.
But there, I think that question does generalize well in terms of like Boston neighborhoods for unit mix, which say bedroom, bathroom counts, and like, what's too many?
For sure. So I think like East Boston specifically is 3 bedrooms. I think what's happening to the market there is that we're like a maturing condo market where all the people that purchased, maybe 5 or 7 years ago, maybe they did buy a 1-bed or they bought a 2-bed, and then now they're, planning to stay in the city. I think we've seen it in Southie. You have bigger units here, things like that. So there's a real pent up demand for 3 beds in East Boston. So those were actually the 2 first units to go in our current project.
I think the 3rd bedroom can be flexed too.
Yeah.
Whether there's windows or not, as long as it's like 6 by 8, I'd like to see 8 by 10.
Whether it's an office or a nursery or a
Peloton,
or whatever, people want.
Yeah.
And people want that flex space.
It was that way at East 2nd. Yeah. We had half of the building with a kind of bonus room, and the whole left side of the building sold first, before the right side.
That was an interesting A/B, like natural
it
A/B
totally
study.
was.
Interesting.
Yeah, with 2 stacks.
And then, but I guess there is somewhat of like that price point too, right? Like we just sold 3 units in Dorchester, and they were all priced below $700K. Sold all 3 of them.
That's great.
During construction or whatever.
2 beds.
There were all 3 beds.
Oh, great.
What advice would you guys give to a buyer's agent who has a client interested in new construction, and they're coming through during framing, and you're looking out for their interests, and you're trying to like guide them towards a good project that they're going to close and be super happy with? Like, what are the things? It's not to be the most important, just like couple. Is it like ask for the reflected ceiling plans? Is it, I
mean, I've never had someone ask for.
Like I say, I don't think buyers know what reflected ceiling plans.
See, like I think that's actually a good tip. Is like, like are they going to give you a bunch of switched outlets and tell you that there's a West Elm on the corner and go buy some lamps? Like, or the recessed lights? Like that's less of a thing now that recessed lights are more inexpensive. But there was a time when like I'd walk in places and be like, "Wow, cool! You give me 1 boob light, very cool."
Oh, there was definitely that kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it depends on the type of product too, right? Like if you're going higher end, like million plus, like it's a very different type of buyer, and it's a very different type of product, right? Like all the buyers that we sold to were all first time home buyers, and one of them almost didn't qualify for their loan because they bought a truck a week before closing. So,
this other guy got fired.
After specifically watching videos and like, going through the course for the home buyer thing, like don't do this. Don't mess with your credit. Don't take out any big loans.
What about references? I think that's an interesting one that
a buyer reference
ask for. I would.
What would you even?
If my mom was buying a new construction product and she said, like, "Mark, what should I ask for?" It's like, ask to speak to like 2 or 3 buyers who've bought from this man or woman.
Would you sell to your mom?
What? No. Yeah. My own product? Would I sell your product? Come on. This is getting weird. We're going to a new subject.
I thought you were saying like the buyers you were gonna ask the buyers for their references as like being buyers.
Oh yeah. That too.
That's a little aggressive.
Can we do that?
Can you give me your mom's phone number?
I guess how did they handle the warranty process?
Yeah.
How was the product once you moved in? Did it match your expectations?
I mean, it's like anything, right? It's like a personal reference. You're going to cherry pick your happiest clients, of course.
Yeah.
Not saying there's anything mischievous going on, but because you're a good guy, we know that.
But Google reviews, I mean, I assume you try to get as many positive Google reviews as possible. We try to do that on some of our bigger rental properties that are we try to get Google reviews for.
Yeah, we've gotten a few recently. So it's just about, there is some level of credibility when get something in the mail, or here's who we're selling or buying from. Let's go check them out online. I mean, it's never been easier.
Yeah. I mean, definitely having a website, right? Having something like our Choose Boston website
it's so easy now.
Exactly. Past, product, and hey, here's actual photos of this most recent project that we sold. Most people just want to see the quality of the construction, not necessarily, I haven't had too many buyers digging into an experience with that seller.
I think a major red flag now is if you Google someone and nothing comes up.
For sure.
I was just about to say, a lot of the old school guys were like that. They want no footprint online, and you're like, who is this person?
But now it's if you can't find someone, if I don't know what you're doing, or I see that you're active, that makes me nervous.
Yeah. Or if you don't have any social media presence at all, I think a good thing to do, short of perhaps calling prior buyers, is go on their Instagram.
Oh, for sure.
Learn a bit about them, what projects they've done, and
I don't know.
I do appreciate the old school guys that tried a website and they're still on Web 1.0. And you go there and it's really funny. I'm like, that's a good
this
old
is
school
cute.
guy. Yeah.
Are most of your the renderings you're doing now, are they all with AI?
No.
Our initial are though. Crystal and I are working together on this project, and we're frequently looking at different decisions on more minor design things. And just the other day, a buyer asked us to build a privacy wall between two decks. And it's what's that going to be clad in? It's all right, can you render that this way, that way, and this way?
Yeah. So we threw a couple ideas. And so that was good. And then helpful to pass over to the sub to be okay, here's a true representation.
That makes it a lot easier sometimes.
Yeah.
But the marketing materials, you're still paying to have renderings.
It's not
there yet.
It would take you too long. It wouldn't be good enough. These are expensive units. If you can't pay $500 for a rendering, what are you doing?
It is it's very, very important because it's all that we're able to, to use for a solid 6 months or so. So I really
will get there.
Yeah, exactly. But
it will get there.
But I will say it's a painful process. Even if we have a designer, so much detail, and I would say I'm not the most type A detailed person, and so I'm okay, let's go. We've got a lot of things going on, and so it's helpful to also.
That's why AI is nice, because it's you just enter it, and less than 60 seconds later, it pops something out.
Right, and then also I also co-sell a lot with my colleague Alan, and so we both have two sort of very different personalities. He is more, I would say, kind of more tactical, detail oriented than I am. And, we switch roles sometimes of who's the good cop, who's the bad cop, and it's very, very, we have a good relationship together and it's helpful.
Yeah. Crystal has a license to carry firearms.
Yeah.
So basically, everybody listens to me. Probably. He's been to Texas with me.
Okay. Anything else we're missing? Anything else that we should hit on new construction sales?
You guys want to do underrated, overrated, appropriately rated?
Sure.
All right. I'll throw out a term, something related to new construction sales or real estate sales in general. And the first one for Dan is...
Oh, for me? You're not for Chris?
We're gonna all go. We're gonna TikTok.
Oh wow. Okay. Go.
No, it's your call.
Oh, you say.
Based on your recent experience.
Based on my recent experience
with Sam's team.
Are we talking about the sales process or the build?
Well, marketing. TikTok is really smart.
Let me see.
It's got to be underrated.
It's got to be underrated.
You just sold 3 condos without MLS on TikTok from...
Not TikTok, Instagram.
Oh, I think he uses TikTok. I think he's got a ton of followers.
No, it's Instagram.
Oh wait, what? You sold everything from social media?
I think he did.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. So I guess social media.
Yeah.
Selling via social media.
So underrated. I think so too. I think table stakes, the new world media is being you're a media company now.
I'll tell you,
brokerage and sales. The rest is everyone's got it. You can make really pretty trifold brochures.
Right.
It's okay.
Right.
But I think there's something to be said for not coming off as too pretentious either. You don't want to have the Ferrari parked out in front of.
No.
a mid-range product that's clearly not like luxury Back Bay kind of thing.
Yeah.
You want to be realistic.
But you want to stand out. Have you seen that chick that sells in Florida? She's hysterical.
I don't know.
Is it Florida? Is she the one that's really sarcastic?
Yes.
I thought she's local. Okay.
No, she's in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, she is so funny.
There's
It's like, here's
also
another
a girl in
shitty house
Utah.
I got to sell, and then she goes through and makes fun of
But
it.
no, it's
But it's
what
fun.
she says. I'll show you. It's very funny.
All right.
But yeah, you got to set yourself apart.
I agree with you about like the content not being too formal. You know,
It's like, let's have fun with it. You know, at the end of the day, also as a listing agent, you're paying for it. So like if it's I don't want to be serious all the time. And
you can tell when someone's reading from a script.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I definitely, I would say I've always been pretty heavy, like video forward in the last year or so, like certainly trying to get a little bit more creative and just be myself a little bit more. And like, I have some plans for Mark for Havre.
People always ask me,
is calendar management one of those plans?
Yeah.
Hence the website. Domino's Pizza. Mark's house tracker.
Bro, people always ask me, they're like, hey, we're drinking in this photo. Like, can I tag Choose Boston? I was like, yes, like that's fine. But I may have pushed that too far recently. It was Crystal's 40th in Texas, and I brought my mesh tank top, my fishnet tank top.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
I thought that was AI.
Yeah. This thing is ridiculous. Like,
did you get a lot of engagement from it?
You should wear it on
so much engagement.
He did.
But not necessarily positive engagement.
You committed to the bit, though.
I did.
He wore it all weekend long.
Yeah.
And
what's the tie called? A bolo tie and a fishnet tie. It was, I'm sure if my dad saw it, he would be.
But this is
it'd be some weird conversations.
This is the real Mark, though, right?
I get a lot of compliments at the bar. People come up to me like, "You got a lot of like, hey," and then some people asking about how I identify. I'm like, it's one of the two real extremes. I'm really, I think you got to be really confident.
It's all right. Dan can tell you about my bachelor party. How I told my best men to not tell me when it was happening and to pack for me. That was a bad decision.
Oh my God, that's a lot of trust. That's amazing.
Oh, it was bad results, but it was very fun.
That's hilarious.
So exactly, I get it.
I think your turn. I did.
Off-street parking.
Oh,
underrated.
Underrated.
Are we asking both of you?
Yeah, and you.
Oh, and me.
Yeah, you're an expert.
Okay.
You're an
I think
expert.
it's underrated.
Yeah. I think especially if you're trying to hit a certain price point, right? Like every neighborhood, that price point is going to be different. But like, Eastie, for example, like you want to go north of $1 million, you probably need parking.
Yeah.
I don't care what unit size it is.
Yeah.
The only place that may not count is Beacon Hill, who routinely sells $10 million stuff with no parking somehow.
Right.
But that's a good one.
Or you have something at least rented,
Smart lighting.
Overrated.
Underrated, depending. I think it's appropriately rated based on the application.
Okay. Right?
What do I think of
Smart lighting?
Yeah. Do you get $1 and a penny spending $1 on smart lighting? I'd probably say you don't.
I don't know.
I do it because I think I like it personally. And,
yeah.
I think it's definitely
is it an ego-driven decision?
I think it's like an aftermarket customization on a car. Right?
I think it also,
people that use
I think it comes down to, the price point of the unit, right? Like if you're doing a $3 million plus single family house in an affluent town, you're putting in a Lutron system. Or if you're selling like a multi-million-dollar condo, you're putting in a nice lighting system or a nice lighting package.
Yeah.
But like,
I just see like junction boxes over dining room tables or in living rooms. Like I'll go back years later, for whatever reason, I'm like, oh, you've never actually used any of those future wires or junction boxes. It's like, yeah, we pre-wired it for sound, or like I gave you the dimmers.
Oh, well, that's sound.
Like,
I wouldn't do that. I think that's overrated.
Well, whether it's sound, whether it's a blanked off junction box for a future light, or it's smart dimmers from the outset.
It's just smart home
I
stuff.
just find that like people aren't going to do it if
you don't afford them, they're not going to do it unless they're like nerds.
Of course, they don't. Unless they're nice. Yeah, I have one buyer who is a super nerd, and I like him, and he loves all that shit that I did for him.
Yeah.
I just think like yeah, I agree. Like at a point of a certain price point, like a standard for all finishes, anything that's visual.
Yeah.
But for the most part, nobody's really like, especially with the markets that I'm familiar with. And even in South Boston, it was nice. And people are like, oh, that's cool. But not like,
They're not
oh, this is a deal breaker for me or anything like that.
A lot of people don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem, right? It hasn't become, I don't think it's become mainstream enough. And I don't think it's become easy enough to set up because everything is so disorganized still. And there's no consistency.
I mean, quick story. We recently sold a condo to a woman whose husband is handicapped. And I was like, great. Hey, we have all smart lighting. They're an older couple. And I was like, this way he can just say like, Alexa, turn on all the lights or whatever it wants to be. And the other day, she texted me asking for an electrician's number because she wants to remove all of the dimmers for just toggle switches because he doesn't have the dexterity. I'm like, you're missing the whole point, though.
Yeah, you don't need this.
It's not that easy.
It's not easy. Like I like technology stuff. Like I'm a technology guy, and I just did my own house last year, and you know how many apps I have for my house? I do it all the time.
Don't get Dan started on the apps on his phone.
I have 20 apps just specifically related just to my house.
Can I put them in a folder for you so you just I'll title like
no? I use Apple Home. So they all integrate into Apple Home. But but like, why do I need, it's like, that's why it's so stupid. Because you have to set up 20 apps, but then you still have to integrate them all into
we'll do
either Home Assistant or Google Home.
You're making the case to not have a smart home, basically.
I know, it's annoying.
Unless you want to put in the work.
Crystal's going to go to a home inspection.
Yeah. I think the top 5 things that are functional should probably be like a smart home app. And then outside of that, like, do I need a remote for my fireplace?
Right,
no, I don't want
a smart
that.
lock on your front door is extremely underrated. That's the one thing everyone should have unless you are a total jerk.
I totally agree.
Smart lock as in, like
at least a code
to it.
or tap a phone. Just some way that like when I left my keys inside when I went jogging, I'm not screwed.
That's a good idea.
Not that I go jogging. But anyway, Crystal does have a home inspection.
Okay.
I want to thank everyone here for rating, listening, reviewing, and subscribing.
Real quick?
Go ahead.
One last thing. If the space affords it, Butler's pantry prep kitchen area or 2 islands?
Oh, definitely pantry.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I'm a host through and through and like to have somewhere that I could like hide everything or have like a second dishwasher or a second fridge. That would be my total dream.
Nice.
Damn.
Awesome.
If people want to get in touch with you or reach out, how can they find you?
Definitely. So I would say Instagram is probably like the closest or the easiest anyways. It's Crystal in Boston. And
what about Fire? Tell us about that. Females in real estate.
Oh yeah. I was like, wait, what? Yeah.
Fire Festival too.
Yeah. So
Fire Festival.
It's FY.
It's new. Anyways, yeah. So just started a new females in real estate group called Fire over at the Union. And, really it's we had our first meeting last week and it was awesome. I mean, almost 20 women showed up, many that I didn't already know, which was even more exciting. And so we're, trying to just build something cool. A lot of feedback was that a lot of women just kind of want something social to do with each other and kind of be around people that they can have something in common with and have, just kind of a place to hang and voices to, people to bounce ideas back off from. So
nice.
But yeah, I would say Instagram is probably the best way to get in touch. And I think that's all.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
guys.
Talk next one.
Cheers.
All right. Bye.